Thank you. It's a real privilege to be here tonight. Thank you for having me. And we're going to talk about digital marketing. I've had about 25 years worth of marketing experience, but the last 10 years specifically focused on the whole digital side. It's changing all the time, it gets really complicated, and so what I want to give to you today is essentially a framework for how you can look at your business and apply some ideas on how to start your digital marketing process. But first, what I'd like to do is tell you a story about one of my sons. And I think this story illustrates digital marketing really well. So I've got 4 kids. My third child, a little fella called Levi. And about 2 or 3 years ago, he got completely hooked on fishing. Now, I don't know if you've got any kids, but often kids get hooked on things, right? And if it's not fishing, it's Transformers or it's Fortnite or something. They get really obsessed with things. And I'm thinking fishing's actually, as far as things you get hooked on, is a pretty good thing to get hooked on. So we were on holidays up the coast here at Shoal Bay, which is just north of Newcastle. And Levi's hitting me up for some fishing gear. So we went down to Kmart and we went all out, right? $15 rods, we bought the best of the best and we went out fishing. So fishing, when you're a father of 4, means what you do is you get everyone out there and it's a lovely morning and you get the rod and you set it up and you put some line through and you put a hook on the end and a sinker and a float and you get some bait and you put the bait on and you hand it to child number 1. So about 5 minutes has gone by. And then you do the same for child number 2. We're at 10 minutes. Do the same for child number 3 and 4. 20 minutes has gone by and now you pick up your own rod. And you go, right, great, I'm going to do some fishing. As soon as you start setting that up, child number 1 comes back and says, Dad, I've got a snag, or something's gone wrong. So you've got to pull that one out, you've got to set it all up again. So there's another 5 minutes. And as soon as you've finished that one, child number 2 comes back and the whole rod's exploded and there's line everywhere, it's a complete big bird's nest and you've got to chop it all off, you've got to start again. So this just seems to repeat and repeat and repeat. So fishing, for me, looks a little bit like this. Now I think it's all summed up by the fact that my back is facing the water. In the middle there, my youngest child's having a great time. She's more interested in posing for the camera than she's actually interested in fishing. And my daughter on the right-hand side is holding a rod. She's never held a rod since. That's the one and only time in her entire life that she'll ever do fishing. And this is my elder son who's actually taking the photo. He's the selfie king. And you can see the little fellow with the stripy shorts. He's not interested in the camera at all. He's on the job. He's fishing. So we do this process. We fish in the morning, we fish at lunch, we fish in the afternoon, we fish in the evening, day after day after day. And it turns out Levi's got a big problem. His dad's completely rubbish at fishing. So we're not catching anything. We're going days and days with no fish until finally, after about day 8, Levi catches his very first fish. Now, I forgive you if up the back you're having a bit of trouble seeing that fish. I posted this photo on social media and some of my friends were rude enough to say that it looked more like bait than like fish. But effectively what's happened, you can maybe see that bright green lure. He's put a lure on for some reason. Effectively what's happened is that through sheer number of hours of having a hook in the water, he's brought it in and the lure has caught this little fish on the gill by accident and hooked him and brought him up. That's the only way we could catch a fish. And he laughs at this now, but at the time, he was very, very proud of this little fish. So what I'm trying to do as a dad, who knows nothing about fishing, is I'm trying to play with all the variables. There's different lines and there's different hooks and there's different sinkers and floats and different rods and then there's targeting different species. And for a different species, you've got to change all of the above. Change the line and the setup and the hook and the bait. And then there's the time of day and there's the season and there's the weather and there's all these factors. And then we're fishing off this pier and kids come and start jumping off the pier and scare away all the fish. So we're trying to adjust things to catch fish. But I didn't know what I was adjusting, so we weren't catching any fish. And digital marketing is really similar, right? We've got all of these variables. We've got Google, we've got analytics, we've got Search Console, we've got Bing, we've got Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, we've got video, we've got email marketing, and it goes on and on and on. And what you're trying to do, you're not trying to catch fish, you're trying to catch leads. And you're adjusting the variables, and let's try this, and then, no, let's try that. And then we haven't even started talking about the message you're using when you're communicating with these different technologies. We're not talking about the economic environment, the political environment, your competitors, the time of year. There's all these factors going on, and we're trying to adjust them to try and get some leads so we can grow our business. What I did with Levi is I got a friend who's about 40 years old, and he's been fishing his whole life. In fact, he was fishing in his mother's womb. He's been fishing about 41 years. And he took us fishing out at the Hawkesbury River, and he's catching fish, and we're not catching any fish. It's the same story. And he takes one look at our gear and he says, "You got the wrong sized hooks. If you go and buy this size hook from BCF, you'll start catching fish." So that's what we did. And Levi caught himself a proper fish this time.